Oh, man. Brad Henderson will join us in about 5 minutes on the Modelo guest line. Modelo Especial. Modelo Negra. Delicious beer. Grab a couple of limes, cut them up, and pop a lime in your Modelo this afternoon on your back porch or patio. Throw some burgers on the grill. That's the y'all lifestyle. Right? Boom. What did I have last night for dinner? Oh, I actually had a healthy dinner. I was very proud of myself. I've been traveling a lot the last 4 weeks, and my diet's kind of gotten a little iffy. Well, that's being kind. I've been dining out a lot and all that kind of nonsense. And so last night it was grilled chicken. When you did some fresh vegetables and some corn. No carbs.
On the cob?
Well,
or
corn was, but I did corn on the cob.
That's so good. What do you put on your corn on the cob?
I did some love rub.
Okay.
And a little butter.
All right. That's smart. You ever put Parmesan cheese on there?
For the Sun Belt, that's pretty healthy. No, I didn't put any cheese on it.
Oh, little Parmesan cheese?
That's a good idea.
So
if I'm saying the hell with my diet.
I've grown up, you do butter and Tony Chachere's. And then
your butter
Parmesan
amount
cheese.
may be different than mine.
Oh, it's glistening. You ever seen?
Yeah, I don't think Wendy. I think it was just a little bit of butter, and I did a little bit of love rub, Jonesy Q, and it was delicious.
You ever held up like an ice cube in the sun and it like starts to glisten on the outside and then it just drips down? That's what my corn.
Yes,
that's
when
what
I
my
was 9.
corn on the cob looks like with butter.
Okay,
just glistens on the outside and then it just drips off the edge.
Glistens.
Yeah, you want that sucker. Like, you want it so coated that if you dropped it, it'd be like a comedy skit of you trying to catch it in midair because it'd be slipping all over the place.
I gotcha.
That's the kind of buttery I need in my corn.
All right.
And then you add the Tony Sat, or I like that. I've never used the Jones GQ rubs, but that's a good idea. I didn't think about that.
Love rub on corn is perfect.
Okay, I'll have to do that. I've always done the Tonys, but Love Rub sounds like a good.
Love
good one,
Rub's.
too.
I know Tony's has been around for a long time.
That's just what I grew up with. Yeah, exactly.
Love Rub is 100 times better than
So
Tony
I'll have to do the Love
and I
Rub.
recognize their brand and what they brought to the table years ago.
Yeah. I'll have to do the Love Rub. And then do a little Parmesan. You do a little Parmesan cheese.
Well,
on
I never
top.
thought
Ooh.
about I mean, I know Wendy's not going to do cheese on corn. I mean, that's not the way she thinks.
Call that street corn. Ooh.
Oh.
It's fire.
So when I spent 30 days in Mexico,
yeah,
we went to 7 or 8 different cities, and they would have street corn.
It may be the greatest gift to the world.
Every corner.
Did you eat it? It's amazing.
I don't know. I was very careful, and here's why. I had taught. First of all, I don't like hospitals or emergency rooms, and I had talked to people who had already
been to the hospital,
done Spanish 3 and 4 abroad down where we were prior years, whatever. And the first weekend we tackled Cancun, and obviously everybody was full of blank and vinegar.
Mm-hmm.
We had 2 guys that had a little too much of the
libations.
Yes, libations. Thank you. And they ended up in the emergency room in Cancun.
No, thank you. I'd prefer not.
No. Yeah. And they told me about what it was like
in said emergency room.
And I just decided from then on that I really was not going to eat a whole hell of a lot for 30 days.
That's funny.
And I went on a liquid diet of they had plenty. Everywhere you went, they had Tecate and Modelo and Pacifico, all these different, a lot of those beers weren't as known back in the 90s when I did this, okay?
And Tecate's a really good beer.
Tecate's excellent beer. And what I realized is I could get away with eating toast and French fries. And
anything you fry in oil is going to kill anything.
When we made it to Acapulco, which is more Americana, I told you this. There was either a Ruth's Chris's. Is that right? And when I tell you we looked like a bunch of, I guess, homeless people.
Yeah.
Because we ran to Ruth's Chris's.
Yeah.
To get, at that time, I don't think I think they had like some kind of big gourmet cheeseburger. And I had not had one in weeks. I lost like 10 or 12 pounds down there, which worked out. But then I had a friend tell me to take a shot of tequila every day because the agave would help your stomach just in case you did run into anything.
Yeah. That's why they have the worm in the bottle. They talk about chasing the worm.
Yeah.
That's like it has to do with like keeping your body healthy.
The agave has, what am I trying to say? Not antibodies, but
Well, that sounds right. Yeah.
in it, and blue agave is actually good for you, and that it would somewhat coat your stomach. And so I just realized I didn't want to go to the emergency room, so I didn't really eat.
A tequila.
Jackie Sherrill and I ended up staying up one night in Acapulco and having a couple of beverages.
So a tequila a day.
I don't know how that happened, but it just did.
You drank with Jackie Sherrill.
I did in 1998.
Tequila a day keeps the doctor away.
And we were the last ones, and we were just sitting there on this kind of balcony or something overlooking the Pacific Ocean, talking about Bear Bryant and Howard Snellenberger, among others. That was a random 5 minutes in Sports Talk Radio. We're going to go to the Modelo guest line, the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Your SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Havana Smoke Shop. For all your premium cigars, visit any of the two locations, Havana Smoke Shop, I-55 North, Frontage Road, and right across from Shaggy's at the Reservoir, out there by Mudbugs. Havana Smoke Shop, premium cigars, Fuentes, Olivas, La Flor Dominicanas, Liga Privadas, you name it, they've got it at Havana Smoke Shop, two locations in the Jackson Metro. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We welcome in Brad Henderson, the Ole Miss Baseball Network. And, Brad, we were talking about my Mexico trip. Have you ever been to Mexico?
I have been.
It's a good place.
How was your trip?
Well, this was back in school in the 90s. I went for 30 days for Spanish 3 and 4. And
Yeah.
Needless to say, there were a lot of libations flowing at that time in my life during 30 days.
We're not going to do the interview in Spanish this morning, are we?
No, it's so sad. I made 2 A's. I don't know how, and I can't speak a lick of Spanish. So there you go. I don't know what happened there. But how you doing, man?
I'm good, Bo. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, well, let's talk about Drew McDaniel and Derek Diamond. So there was a little bit of a switcheroo last night for a midweek game.
Sure.
Getting prepared for SEC play. Mississippi State did this earlier in the year, Brad, with Sarantola and Bristow, and now it looks like Mike Bianco and the staff, Lafferty and so on, could be heading that direction. What did you make of last night's move, and what it could mean this weekend for Ole Miss and Drew McDaniel?
Well, I just think it's an opportunity for Drew. You know, he stepped in when Doug Nikhazy was out with that pec injury, and he pitched really well. And I think up until this point, Derek's pitched well also. But
Sure.
He's had a couple tough outings, his past 2 outings, and I think they're just wanting to shake it up a little bit. And Drew's proved that he can pitch on a weekend. So, it's kind of that next man up mentality. But he's been there. He's done it. He did it the first 2 weekends. So, we just haven't played well the last 2 Sundays, and that's not all on Derek Diamond. But, we're kind of in a rut right now. We've lost the last 2 series. So we're going to try something different.
What should we look for those that haven't had a chance to catch Drew when he pitched on the weekends when Nikhazy was hurt? What can we expect to see from Drew McDaniel on the mound as far as style and approach, Brad?
Yeah, he works quick. He's right-handed as well, just like Derek. But he's got really good stuff. He's 90 to 93. He's not a big guy. Derek's more of a 6'2", 6'3", 200-pounder. Drew's probably 6 foot, 185 pounds. Real loose arm. He's got a big-time slider. And the scouting report on him last year when he came in as a freshman out of Louisiana was the stuff was electric. It was, the question was, could he command the zone? And this year, obviously, he's proved that he could do that, and he's kind of earned this start. So it'll be fun to watch him go out there Sunday at Dudy Noble.
All right, so Drew McDaniel in, and I agree with Brad. It's not that Derek Diamond hasn't pitched well. It's just that sometimes you have a little bit of a shakeup. Diamond's still very talented, but Drew McDaniel will take the hill on Sunday. We're visiting with Brad Henderson, Ole Miss Baseball Network. Brad joins us on the Modelo guest line. We'll do this deal in Spanish next week. You're listening to ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Brad and I have to brush up a little bit before we go all in. Brad is as good of a baseball player as you were and as many games as you played in, and now you're getting into calling a bunch of games. Have you ever experienced a game where one team goes up 11-0 and the other team ties it 11-11, like you did this past weekend with Ole Miss and Arkansas?
It's funny you ask that. I can't recall one, but my shortstop when I played there, a guy named Justin Heisman, he texted me after the game and he said, "Boy, that felt like a gorilla ball late '90s baseball game. Where if you got down 7, 8, 9 runs early, you still weren't out of it because the bats made such a difference and the ball just seemed to fly out of every park." But no, I can't recall a league game with a team as talented as Arkansas jumping up 11-0 and really thinking, do we really have a shot to get in it? Now, I knew offensively we were pretty good, and we had swung it good all weekend. But to make that run and finally tie that game up 14-14 in the seventh after about 4 hours already was remarkable. But, it was just one of those deals where did we have enough arms left in the tank to keep holding Arkansas down, and we just didn't get it done. And then obviously in the 8th and the 9th, they held us scoreless. But, I was proud of the fight from our guys. But at the end of the day, we walked 17 on Sunday and hit 2 batters on Sunday. And you're not going to beat very many people at all, much less an SEC foe with that many free passes. But, again, I think we're swinging it well. But we just didn't pitch it good this weekend. I think a lot of that's Arkansas. But I think a lot of that was self-inflicted as well, as we had 30 walks on the weekend and 3 total hit batters. So they'll have to correct that, obviously. Another tall task going into Starkville this weekend, but should be a really good series.
Brad Henderson on the Out of Bounds show. Now that you had an opportunity to watch Arkansas over the weekend, and Ole Miss and Mississippi State could face them again, what's your one big takeaway from Van Horn's squad?
Solid. They're gettable, but they do everything really well. The 2 guys up the middle play tremendous defense. They pitch it well enough. I wasn't, I didn't feel like we were overpowered at the plate. I feel like we had chances, really all 3 games. But man, they swing it. They put so much pressure on you defensively. They take pitches they should take. They make pitchers work. And 1 through 9, you look at, they've hit over 50 home runs already, and they all have multiple home runs. There's not one guy like a Wes Clark at South Carolina that's got 15 or 18 bombs, but they all have anywhere from 3 to 8, 9 home runs each. And so you just don't get those easy, what I call easy outs, those bottom of the order guys that are scuffling. 1 through 9, they're just really good, and they just continuously put pressure on you, and it makes it tough. It makes it tough on the staff. You burn a lot of arms, and like we saw this weekend, they work counts and pitch counts get up, and they just put you in some tough situations.
When you talk about the ability, kind of 1 through 9, of their hitters to work deep into the count, you don't see that often, right? That for the whole lineup to have that skill set, I guess, to do that in college baseball, Brad?
Yeah, they're just interchangeable. It's amazing, and he's built that. And you don't see it. Typically, you'll have those guys in that 8-9 hole that are, hitting 230, and you just hope that they provide some offense on that weekend and get hot. But they've done it all year. That's why they're sitting at number 1 right now. And like I said, they're good on the mound. I wouldn't say they're great on the mound, like possibly we may see this weekend. But they've got a good pen, but they're just never out of it because they just swing it so well offensively, and they play tremendous defense behind that staff.
Brad Henderson, Ole Miss Baseball Radio on the Modelo guest line. All right, I like where you just went. Let's talk Hoagland and McLeod and Nikhazy and Bednar. I can't remember. Now, the 2 teams have had some really, really good aces that have gotten after each other. And they've had some good Saturday guys. But this kind of top-level talent right out of the gate, can you remember? Because they're both aces, right? I mean,
that's right.
Hoagland and Nikhazy are both number ones. And then so are McLeod and Bednar. I can't remember another time that we had that happen with Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Brad.
No, and it's one of those. It's kind of one of those scenarios. As I talk to some Mississippi State friends of mine, I'm not going to start to compare them to Rocker and Leiter at Vanderbilt, but you do get that feeling that if one of them, it's hard to beat both of those guys on the same weekend. You may get one of them. They may not perform like they. You take Rocker. He gets lit up for the first time on Friday. Well, you knew it was going to be hard to beat Kumar and Leiter in back-to-back days, and that's kind of the feeling I get with Gunner and Doug, and also McLeod and Bednar. It's just that they're so good. They're interchangeable. And Ole Miss has done that this year. Gunner was a Saturday guy for a long time until the injury to Doug, and they've stuck with that Friday-Saturday rotation now. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of quality arms, and it even goes deeper than that too, because then you start talking about Broadway, who's been so good for Ole Miss in that closer role, and obviously Sims for Mississippi State. So, I expect a low-scoring game all weekend for the most part. But again, who knows in this league? I didn't see us time the game up the other day 14-14 either. So it always seems to amaze me, and that's the beauty of college baseball.
The Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We're visiting with Brad Henderson, Ole Miss Baseball Network. He joins us on the Modelo guest line. Mississippi State will host Ole Miss, top 10 matchup, Dudy Noble Field this weekend. I know the two teams would like to sweep, but let's just go with taking the series. What does Ole Miss have to do to walk out of Dudy Noble Field taking 2 or 3 this weekend?
Well, I think they've got to continue to swing it. We've been so good, really, since the Florida series, a week and a half ago. Just multiple hit games. It seems to me like we've had several in a row, and we've scored a bunch of runs. And the question was, were we going to replace Tim Elko? And obviously we haven't replaced him, but we haven't fallen off offensively. So, I think we've got to continue to swing it, put pressure on them. I think Mississippi State, who's swinging it well now, had a great weekend at Auburn. But they've shown some signs early in the year where they weren't getting those big hits and weren't putting up those big offensive numbers. But, for me, it's the offense. It's got to continue to roll and put pressure on that Mississippi State defense. And secondly, it's going to be a big crowd. It's going to be probably the most hostile environment we've gone into this year. And with a lot of young players, they're going to have to overcome that early and get in a good rhythm.
Brad Henderson on the Out of Bounds Show. Let's wrap it up with this. Tim Elko, what are you hearing? I mean, there's talk that he's trying to rehab this thing and contribute at some point before the end of the season. What's the latest?
Well, I had a chance to visit with Tim last night on the way out of the stadium, and yesterday he was not on crutches. He had gotten his new brace in and said it feels a little bit better every day, and that's really all you can ask. Medicine's come so far from back when I played. Originally when it happened, I thought there was no chance that we would see Tim back, and 25 years ago there wouldn't have been a chance. But kids today are so much bigger, faster, stronger, and they just recover at a more rapid pace because of rehabilitations and medicines and all that. But, if you get him back in any form, I think it's a plus. Now, will that happen? Only time will tell, and every kid is going to react to that ACL injury differently. But he was in good spirits, but I still think we're 2-3 weeks out from even remotely knowing anything about Tim Elko.
Well, that's some good news, though. So, Brad Henderson, Ole Miss Baseball Network on the Modelo guest line, and he'll call some big games this weekend as Ole Miss will travel to Mississippi State. 2 top 10 matchups at top 10 teams, Dudy Noble Field this weekend. Brad, thanks so much, buddy, for your time. We'll catch up again next week.
You bet, Bo. Thank you, buddy.
Brad Henderson on the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. I want to thank you for hitting the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Search the Out of Bounds Show. We're also on Podbean and Spotify for our podcast. Apple Podcasts. Search the Out of Bounds Show. Also, Facebook page looking good. Search the Out of Bounds Show. Love for you to hit us up on Facebook. Search the Out of Bounds Show. I think that was one of the best interviews we've had yesterday with Ryan Fowler, Bama Insider, on is Dreamland overrated and is Mac Jones overrated?
Yeah. Oh, were you asking me? Because, yeah, they are.
I thought it was.
I thought it was a good interview. I thought
it was a fun discussion.
I think it's interesting that we have to remind Alabama fans that a lot of what they think are good things are not as good as they think they are.
Man, when you're ripping off national titles, they believe the spoons and the forks and the napkins at those restaurants are elite. And I get it. When you've won at that level, what is Saban now? 6 titles there and 1 at LSU?
Yeah, I think he
surpassed Paul Bear Bryant and Woody Hayes.
I think he averages like 1.7 losses a season.
Okay.
Is what it stretches out to over the course of this. He's had a couple perfect seasons, a couple 1 losses, and he had a couple 2 or 3 losses.
What'd you make of what I said on Ryan Fowler's show in Tuscaloosa, the game 109, about Ole Miss, to me, having the best opportunity, the way that they're built, to give Bama a hard time in 2021 because of some of the other things happening in the SEC West?
It comes down to what you talk about, and we've talked about with a lot of different sports and teams, margin of error, right? Like, what are other teams allowing you to do? If you play an elite pitcher, you may only get 3 or 4 pitches to hit all game, right? All 7 innings. Can you take advantage of those 4 pitches? Alabama's the same way. You don't get the ball and have 15 possessions and score 12 times usually. You got to score quick, often. You can't go 10 plays, 15 plays down the field. And Ole Miss can score from anywhere on the field, we believe, or they have shown that ability in the past.
Number 1 in the country,
be able
50-plus yard plays, number 5 in explosive plays last year. They were, when you can do that, Blake, all of a sudden you're on your 30.
And then you're on their 20.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, it's the one thing that you can't again, it's like a home run. Once the ball's in the air, it's over. There's nothing else you can do. With Ole Miss's offense, once the ball's out there in space, it's over. It doesn't matter that you have 11 good defenders. It's 1-on-1, and if their guy makes you miss, it's over.
And even as good as Bama is, they don't have the personnel to cover everybody. Nobody does. Georgia doesn't. If you're that prolific at explosive plays, you're eventually going to get them.
Yeah. And maybe that's the only way.
Get that defense, whoever you're facing.
Yeah, maybe that's the only way you beat in Alabama. Although we'll see. Maybe their offense isn't what it's been in the last 4 or 5 years.
And Hugh Freeze and Johnny Manziel were really the first 2, Blake, that got in Nick Saban and Kirby Smart's grill or craw or head and kind of started to change the deal. The Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, is brought to you by Boar's Head, Compromise Elsewhere, Premium Deli Meats, Cheeses, and Hummus, Charcuterie Boards and Game Day Platters, Boar's Head, Compromise